Welcome to this explainer. We're diving straight into day 59 of the US-Israel war with Iran. Today, we're unpacking a really complex web of rapidly shifting fronts, diplomatic, economic, and physical changes happening on the ground right at this very moment. It's like a giant puzzle, but we're going to untangle it step by step.
So we're breaking this down into 5 key areas: the diplomatic front, the Moscow-Tehran axis, the economic front, the Lebanon ceasefire, and finally, the information war. Let's get right into it.
Starting off with Section 1, the diplomatic front.
Things fell apart unbelievably fast over the weekend. We started with the U.S. planning talks in Pakistan. Seemed pretty standard, right? But then, on Saturday, Donald Trump completely pulled the plug on the trip, bluntly saying it was, quote, wasting too much time. And wow, the pivot was instant. By Sunday, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was already touching down in Moscow. And by Monday, the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stepped right into that gap, officially offering Russia's goodwill or mediation services for any future U.S.-Iran talks. It's wild how quickly a vacuum in diplomacy gets filled.
That brings us to Part 2, the Moscow-Tehran strategic axis.
You've really got to pay attention to the exact words here. While meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Araghchi made it a point to hail the strategic relationship between Moscow and Tehran. In high-level diplomacy, words like that aren't just thrown around lightly. With the U.S. talks stalled and that Pakistan trip scrapped, Iran is leaning hard on Russia. They absolutely need continued intelligence sharing, backing at the UN Security Council, and really just a heavy-hitting backer to help them get favorable terms if this war ends.
But here's the catch. There is a massive gap between what Iran wants and what Moscow is actually willing to give. Iran wants a partner in the trenches. But Russia's reality? Well, Ukraine is still their absolute #1 priority. Plus, Putin fundamentally wants to avoid directly interfering in a war with the U.S. Instead, Russia's kind of playing the middleman, hoping to leverage its connection with Donald Trump to boost its own power in the region, rather than just fighting Iran's battles. It's an alliance of convenience, heavily constrained by Moscow's own limits.
So how is Russia trying to thread this needle? Well, a massive sticking point right now is the U.S. demanding Iran give up its 60% enriched uranium. Obviously, Iran swears they will never hand that over to America. So Russia is stepping in with a highly technical, middle-way compromise, offering to securely store that uranium themselves. It's a clever workaround. It might actually help diffuse the nuclear tension while letting Tehran save face domestically. It's a pretty strategic move to make Russia look like the indispensable problem solver.
Moving right along to Section 3, the economic front.
Now, these political stalemates are having massive real-world economic impacts. Right now, there are at least 2 ship crews currently detained by Iran in the Gulf. 2! This diplomatic breakdown has practically paralyzed one of the world's most critical shipping lanes. Tanker traffic in the Strait of Hormuz is at a near standstill. Crews are just stuck waiting for safe passage. And as a direct result, global oil prices are creeping up. The whole global supply chain is basically holding its breath right now.
And the UN is not taking this lightly. The head of the UN's International Maritime Organization came out swinging, stating that freedom of navigation is simply not negotiable. They are reminding everyone that under customary international law, you absolutely cannot obstruct this waterway. There's literally zero legal basis for throwing arbitrary taxes or fees on ships just passing through. It goes to show how international commerce laws are being stretched to the absolute breaking point.
All right, Part 4. Lebanon ceasefire under fire.
Remember that fragile ceasefire deal from earlier this month? Yeah, it's really shattering on the ground. Just look at the deadly reality of Sunday alone. The Lebanese health ministry reported that Israeli strikes killed 14 people. Meanwhile, the Israeli military confirmed that 1 IDF soldier was killed in a Hezbollah drone attack. This was, without a doubt, the deadliest single day since the truce originally took effect. It just highlights how fast the physical battlefield reignites when diplomacy stalls out.
The reality is, both sides are just completely deadlocked, fiercely accusing each other of violating the terms. Israel is refusing to stop its accelerated attacks until it gets a fully protected northern border to keep its citizens safe. On the flip side, Lebanon is demanding a complete withdrawal of Israeli troops from the south. And who's caught in the crossfire of this massive standoff? Over 1 million displaced civilians. Their homes are gone and they are absolutely desperate to return. High-level geopolitical gridlock translates directly into continued danger and displacement on the ground.
Finally, let's hit Part 5, the information war.
We're seeing two totally conflicting narratives clashing in the global media right now. On one hand, you have Donald Trump claiming that his direct intervention actually saved 8 female Iranian protesters from the death penalty. But then, on the exact opposite side, Iran's judiciary came out with a fierce statement completely rejecting that. They called it false reporting, insisting that none of those specific women were even facing execution in the first place. It's a textbook example of how domestic controversies instantly turn into highly polarized global talking points.
So how do we cut through the noise? We look at the actual data. Findings from an Oslo-based group, Iran Human Rights, tracked 5 of the women involved here. Their data shows that, yes, 2 women were released on bail last month, but the danger is still very real for the others. 2 are facing possible death sentences, and at least 1 woman, Vida Himati, who was arrested back in January, is actively facing execution. Tracking this raw data is absolutely crucial for getting past the political rhetoric to see the real human stakes.
And to really understand the gravity of this dispute, you have to look at this number, 1,639. According to human rights groups, that's exactly how many executions happened in Iran last year alone. Think about that for a second. It's the highest number recorded since 1989. When you see that macro-level data, it suddenly makes total sense why the international spotlight is so intensely focused on these individual cases right now. Every single judicial decision is under a global microscope.
Wrapping up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this to think about. We've literally seen how one single canceled meeting in Pakistan can ripple outwards to trigger maritime blockades, shatter ceasefires, and forge complex new alliances. So as the violence continues to surge across all these interconnected fronts, what do you think? Will Moscow's new attempt at mediation actually pull this volatile region back from the brink? Or is it just going to deepen the global fracture? Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and keep asking those tough questions.